Welcome to the TodayStocks.com news show. I am Natalie Stoberman, and I am joined by the president and CEO of Tartisan Nickel, Mark Appleby. Mark, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me today.
Fabulous. So, Mark, there's lots happening at Tartisan Nickel Corp, but before we jump into certain projects that are on the go right now, can you give me some background about the company?
Sure. Well, Tartisan Nickel Corp is listed on the Canadian Stock Exchange under the symbol TN. We're also listed south of the border on the QX Exchange under the symbol TTSRF. And we're an Ontario-based mining exploration company whose flagship project is the Kenbridge Nickel Project.
Right, and that is a big project happening right now. Obviously, nickel is number one on the list of priorities with that project. What stage is that project in?
Well, it's definitely advanced exploration with a near-term production slant. More important than ever before is the critical supply chain and vertically integrated and getting involved in the electric vehicle revolution, battery storage play. So Tartisan has an advanced resource. There's a mineral resource estimate that's available for folks to have a look at. And we're also updating the preliminary economic assessment, which we hope to have out around Canada Day, July 1st.
That's a quick turnaround. But you've mentioned something that is a big deal right now, the electric car revolution. And what is your take on that at this point in time?
Well, I think there's no doubt that one of the things we did learn from COVID is that when fossil fuels get put on hold, the skies clear up, everyone's breathing improves. And with nickel, copper, and cobalt being the three fundamental metals that Tartisan Nickel Corp have, they've been recognized as three important minerals in battery storage and in the electrification of batteries. So we would look to try and get our story to as many people that are concerned about vertical integration and a cleaner planet and low carbon emissions. And we're proud to be becoming a part of all that.
What do you mean by vertical integration?
Well, there's a lot of auto manufacturers that are all going to electrification. If you've looked at what Doug Ford is doing and the federal government as well, they're opening up several battery supply manufacturing plants in the Golden Horseshoe, Southern Ontario. Mm-hmm. And all of these plants will require these critical minerals. So we would hope that Tartisan from shovel to the factory would be able to help supply the critical minerals to these factories.
Got it. That makes total sense. And I mean, with this movement starting to take off now, where does Canada as a whole stand when it comes to like the global nickel supply, especially where the Kenbridge project is in northwestern Ontario?
Well, I think right now, in terms of our mineral resource, we have about 117 million pounds of nickel between measured, indicated, and inferred. And while we're a small part of that, we would be able to, in this decade, presuming we go into feasibility at the end of 2022, to become part of the supply chain in the next 3 to 4 years.
That is not a lot of time. So it sounds like Canada's in a good spot to jump in and be a global leader in nickel supply.
Well, Ontario definitely being a preferred jurisdiction. Certainly, we all are aware of what's happening sort of macroeconomically as a result of the Russia situation, Ukraine. 17% of the world's nickel supply being cut off essentially as a result of sanctions with Russia, and Canada as well having the preferred nickel sulfide as to laterite nickel or pig nickel as a lot of other countries in the world have. So it's less energy intensive when you get into the smelting side of getting the nickel sulfide prepared for battery consumption. So lower carbon footprint, and there's preferred methodologies too of mining here.
Interesting. And you did make a very good point. The Russia-Ukraine conflict is definitely a big player in a lot of minerals for electric vehicles and elsewhere. So in terms of the Kenbridge Nickel Project in northwestern Ontario, a news release just came out saying that baseline studies are to be commenced very shortly. What exactly are we looking for there?
Yeah, so they actually have commenced. So the baseline studies is sort of one of the boxes that gets ticked on your checklist when you're heading towards a feasibility study and ultimately having your project properly permitted. So an environmental baseline study is everything to do with nature and water quality, whether it's a bat or bird study, the flora and fauna, the hydrology monitoring of streams, both above and below the project, well monitoring stations where you can actively manage and monitor the water quality around your site to establish essentially sort of the before picture of are there any minerals leaching into groundwater, et cetera. So all of these studies are now underway. You have to go through at least a couple of seasons in order to get in well in your permitting process. And so it was important for us to start the spring of 2022 to allow us to participate in the spring, the runoff. Kenora this year has had some challenges with sort of extreme weather, a late snowfall and heavier snowpack and lots of rain this year. So we managed to get in and the studies are underway. And we look forward to sort of providing additional updates, but a very critical piece in the permitting process for the Kenbridge Nickel Project.
Got it. So very initial phases for the Kenbridge Nickel Project so far. But and I'm going to wrap up with this question here. There's a lot happening, a jumble of geopolitical, COVID, and other events that are just taking place right now, along with the birth of the electric vehicle movement. Where do you think that's going to be taking Tartisan Nickel in the next few years?
Well, I think as you get into production, certainly there's a lot of value. We have in situ metal-wise, roughly $2 billion worth of metal. You can discount that any which way from Sunday, but certainly we're warranted of an increased market cap from today's sort of $50 million market cap level. Certainly we can sort of see this as we get closer to production decisions of the market cap considerably increasing, as well as we hope to improve upon the resource with a upcoming exploration drill program, some definition drilling.
Wonderful. And we look forward to hearing about those updates as well. Mark, thank you so much for chatting with me, and I look forward to chatting again soon in the near future.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Thanks for having me today.
Anytime. Best of luck with the Nickel Project in Kenora. Take care.
Thank you.